The bond between a musician and the instrument is special. Whether it be the wood of a vintage acoustic guitar, that first ever strum of a power chord, or a connection to a late family member whose memory is able to live on through the songs they used to play themselves. There's a significance that runs much deeper than what appears on the surface.
Hey guys, JB1398 here.
From the top one more time. Music has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. I first picked up drumsticks nearly 15 years ago, and that's where my passion really started. I wasn't very good at the beginning, but I started to slowly improve. I went from dreaming about being a rock star to actually joining a band when I was in high school. Although I don't play music nearly as much as I used to, it's still a really big part of who I am. There's this connection between musicians that is hard to describe with words, but it's this deep understanding of a form of expression that we all share. It feels like being part of a big family in a really neat way.
My name is Jarin. I own and operate Guitar War. It's Luthier services in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I was a singer-songwriter for a while. I was able to do some touring and some recording with music, but it's a tough go. So I did what I did, and then I was given the opportunity to apprentice under a master builder. So I did that for a number of years, and then started up the shop. The best part of it is working with musicians and working on a lot of great instruments. The biggest thing is stay humble and stay grateful. If you ever think that this is too much, then, maybe go take a job in building roofs or something like that, and it won't take long before you realize just how sweet this can be. It was a lot of learning, obviously. Like, you can go to school and get some knowledge and some education in certain courses, but it's kind of trial by fire. The guys I work with are great. The animals are here. I've always had dogs here. This is the latest incarnation. This is Jack. He's a rescue. We're big fans of rescues. Juno wasn't a rescue. She's a 5-year-old American Bulldog. Jack is a bit of a mutt. A lot of guys, I would think, come here just for the dogs, but we're okay with that. Aren't you? You're okay with that, right? This is a vintage Hofner, the Beatles bass, Paul McCartney made famous. This is a restoration. This is another probably 50s from a Japanese instrumentation from the 50s. It's going to be pushing 70 years already, so some of those parts are going to fail.
Is it nice being able to now mentor other people?
It is, for sure. Part of the philosophy is passing the craft on, because it needs that to survive. So this is a guitar made in Oklahoma City in 1991 for Don Williams, an old country singer-songwriter. Just those flower designs, like they would cut that all out with a little tool, and then they would literally cut out the abalone. That's individual pieces of abalone, and then they would install them, and they need to fit almost perfect. This is an art unto itself. A lot of people are pretty fascinated with new guitars, whereas the beauty and the art in a lot of ways is in the older guitars. I'm confident this is going to sound pretty amazing, and we're going to get it playing amazing, and it'll be a guitar that this gentleman can keep in his collection for a long, long time.
I've always wanted to learn how to play guitar, but as a drummer, string instruments just felt like a totally different world. I tried multiple times to learn guitar, but I always gave up. The reason is simple: I sucked, and just drumming felt so much more natural, but I had a desire to learn. I'm used to tempo and hitting things. Learning notes and melody is different, but it's also really exciting because it allows me to learn music on a different level than I was used to before, and to connect with songs in a new way. After a long time of practice, and I learned some basic chords and could strum a song, that feeling that I had was one of accomplishment and something that I'll never forget.
What was the question again? Hi, my name is Branson. I've been a musician for 15 years. There's a guitar teacher, Neil Devereaux, and he said, okay, look, here, take this guitar. You know, he showed me what an A chord was. And he took the cable, plugged it right in the amp, and he put it on 10. And he said, just hit the guitar. And I was like, he's like, yeah, just hit it, trust me. And I went, crang, and it like shook through the whole school. I'm sure the piano lessons that were being given next door were quite raucously disrupted. I think it's important for all musicians to be able to conduct basic maintenance on their instrument. However, it is also important to know where your limits are. And there is no shame in that. In fact, you should treat it as a learning opportunity because it'll also put you in touch with people who have been doing this thing a lot longer than you've been. They might be really good performers themselves, and so you might actually just learn something. So yeah, listen to the professionals. This middle one here, this is the old Supra I was talking about beforehand. 1962, question mark, I think is what the serial number dates it to. There's two channels. The first channel is, I have no idea because a lot of the controls and the writing on here have kind of like faded away over the years. So typically what would happen on amps like these is you would have sometimes actually two instruments going into an amplifier. So this first channel, it had like a treble and a bass switch on it. So you might have run either like say an accordion through here, or a bass or a guitar, or even sometimes a like a harmonica microphone as well if you're in a blues band. This is not, you're not going to do deathcore on this. Is that your favorite? Oh, this one? Yeah, this, if I could only keep one, it would probably be this one, just because this does the Chicago blues thing. This will do rock. This will do country. I also just really like the way it looks. I mean, it's got a racing stripe. Who doesn't love a racing stripe? And I just really like I know everybody's like, oh, every amplifier comes in black. I'm like, no, but this is like black and gray. You know, it's like a lovely little slub. And relatively speaking, it's portable when it has a handle that like works properly. This is the original handle, so I'd say like 55 years of use is pretty good. Now I just carry it like a baby. But it's also nice strong cabinet too. And it's also not so recognizable that someone in the audience is gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna steal that after the show.
Do you think there's a different feeling when you do play a guitar with history?
I think what it can do is it can give you a perspective about music and players and performers that came before you. I think that sense of perspective lends an artist to have a more open mind, to be creative, to collaborate with people they necessarily wouldn't think about collaborating with, making creative decisions that are not necessarily conventionally safe. And if you're in music or art in any capacity, there's a story that you're trying to tell, and people are an inherent part of stories. So the better you understand people, I think the more likely you are to reach people in a meaningful way.
Last take of Jane, just to make sure that I have one more that I think is good that doesn't feel so rushed. I was just excited to talk. I wanted to learn a little bit more about the importance that instruments have when it comes to carrying stories and memories of loved ones. So I asked around and found a musician that has a really neat connection to an instrument. Jane has been singing and playing guitar since the 60s, and everybody in her family knew her dad as being a really talented banjo player. The cool part about Jane's story is that she still has her dad's old banjo. It was made in 1912 and even went with him during World War II.
He was a very accomplished musician, and I had no idea how hard it was to play banjo until he passed away and I got his banjo. My only regret is that I don't have the discipline or the ability to learn to play it properly.
So this is a custom-made case.
This case was custom made. It was very tight at first, but it's loosened up quite a bit. If you look at the back of it, it's quite worn out. That's the original decal that was on it. And one of the guys painted the frigate that he was on in the Second World War. I mean, that banjo's been all around the world with him in the Canadian Navy. Look at some of these old strings as well. You know, here's an old capo. Let's look how tiny it is. He'd had a stroke and he couldn't squeeze his hand tight. So my husband and I put that together for him. I'd forgotten about this. It took a long time for him to quit playing because it's in our blood. Just opening the case brings back so many memories. I just hope whoever ends up with this banjo passes it on to their children and passes the music on.
Not only is music a really great form of self-expression, but it's also a way to find that deeper understanding of yourself, your feelings, and to share those with others. The part that I think is the most interesting is the fact that we can all come together and have this feeling and share these feelings with each other. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It's not even necessarily always about the lyrics in a song. It's about how the song makes you feel. I always find that when you talk to musicians and you ask why they love music, it's hard to answer. And I'm having trouble even trying to describe it now for all of you. How do you describe something that is like breathing? Something that is so necessary to somebody that they can't live without it?
Music is life. I can't imagine life without music.
Much of my life is very calm and it's very tranquil. And so music is an opportunity to not have that tranquility, you know, to have a little bit of noise, a little bit of creative chaos.
We started camping when I was 5 years old, and we always sang around the campfire. That's kind of where I got the music in my soul.
I happen to make a living servicing instruments. The main reason you do it is so other people can make music.
It's also something that I can share with people that I care about and do something with people in a community.
It's just something that I feel very strongly that I must share it.
Music is art. I just play a small part in it, and I'm happy to do that.
Music is a way to collaborate with like-minded individuals.
Music is so healing. Music is everything. Music is life. Boy, that's annoying, isn't it?